here are some additional tips that I have when you're trying things on, whether it's at a store or in the comfort of your own home. Make sure that you're trying things on with the undergarments you would typically wear with that item. It's definitely going to make a big difference in how you'd wear it on a day-to-day basis, and in the event that it's a more fitted item, having more fitted undergarments is going to make you feel more comfortable and less like you're looking at the lines and that's it. So you can see the whole outfit instead of just the one thing wrong with it potentially. I also recommend trying things on in outfits when possible. The benefit of trying things on in the comfort of your home is you get to pull pieces you already own that you know you like and fit you well to try on with your pieces. But if you're at a store, try to kit outfits together in the dressing room as well so you can see how a full look might feel versus just trying one item at a time. It's fine, but I think it's more efficient to do a whole outfit, especially if you are shopping at a thrift store or even consignment stores on occasion. If you're looking at the size on a tag of something, it may not actually match up to the actual size when it fits. A lot of times people who are donating their items haven't laundered it correctly, or there are some things that just over time, it's going to change the shape due to washing, drying, and wear and tear. You can see when I have it untucked, the elastic here is a little stretched out as well, so that's something to keep in mind too. If you're looking at things that have elastic in them from a consignment or a thrift store, make sure that the elastic fits you comfortably and it's not going to be falling off. That's probably going to be the biggest concern that you have when you are shopping from a consignment or thrift store is if something has elastic, it might be stretched out. So make sure that you are checking that quality when you are purchasing or trying things on so that it fits where it's supposed to and how it's supposed to for your body. Know when you're trying things on to look around the seams for any holes or areas where it might make sense that you might get a hole from just casual wear. Things like where your belt is going to be or where there might be buttons on your jeans, or if it's going to be in an area close to the seam that's going to get rubbed or pulled on often. Make sure to check the buttons if you are getting a button down or button up shirt. You want to make sure that all the buttons are actually on there and that they button where they're supposed to. I've purchased things before where I thought, hey, it has all the buttons, it's fine. But make sure they actually button through the buttonhole, because what I experienced was one of the buttonholes was entirely ripped and I didn't know until I'd already brought it home and went to button everything myself. I saw all the buttons on one side but didn't check the buttonhole. So make sure that the buttons are there and that the buttonholes are also intact. Otherwise, you might need to do some mending to make sure that you can wear it comfortably and not have any accidental exposures or J-Lo moments. Check for threads that might be coming off on different areas because there might be some pulls and things that you will need to fix. Otherwise, when you get home with it, it might start unraveling pretty quickly. The inside of the cuff here is coming apart, especially because it's a looser material. I think that just ripped really quickly on the last person who had it. So that's something that I will need to fix, is to make sure that the cuff is sewn in so it doesn't come undone on my hands as I'm moving around and doing things. Pro tip, if you are trying on especially outerwear, you want to make sure that you can do the Hulk test or the hug test, whichever you prefer. I like the Hulk test. But make sure that when you go to give somebody a hug, or if you feel like you're gonna, Hulk out, you can actually move your arms back and forth like this and it doesn't feel like the material is straining or like you're gonna rip it, because you don't want to Hulk out of your shirt, especially if you just bought it. Make sure that the zippers work, especially on things that you know you're going to want to use. Make sure they can actually open, how the pockets are, so that they can fit the things that you need to fit in them, and that they close. Those are big things. If it has ties on it, make sure that they can move, so that way if you want to tie it, you can actually tie it when you need to. Ta-da! Another good thing to check is if an item has a hood, make sure the hood fits how you want it to fit. There's nothing worse than trying an outfit, realizing it's a hood, going to put it on and going, this doesn't actually fit how it needs to fit. So, put on, good to go. Another tip when you're trying on outerwear is make sure that it hits where you want in the body. So for example, I'm wearing high-waisted jeans right now. I will typically want my jacket to cover where my waistline is in my pants. I feel like a lot of times you'll find with the collar of a jacket or a blazer or a shirt that you've gotten that's been washed improperly, it's gonna fit a little bit weird. So that's gonna be the specific area that you wanna focus on if you want to iron it, if you want to wash it, and make sure that it dries as flat as possible. Keep an eye on that and do what you can to flatten it during the drying process. Another thing to keep in mind, especially with lighter colored items, be it sweater or blouses, a lot of times you're gonna be able to see through the material if you're wearing any layers underneath. So I'm wearing a camisole under this, and while it's the same color as what the actual sweater is, You can see the seams through it because the material is tighter and thinner. So keep that in mind. Just know that if you're wearing something underneath, especially if you're wearing undergarments that have some sort of print or pattern or even just a texture on them, there's a possibility that it can show through the sweater as well. Just be mindful when you're trying things on. So with putting a belt on, it definitely pulls the waist in around the back. There was no tag on it, so there was definitely no way to know the size unless I took out my measuring tape, which is also an option. You can always bring a measuring tape with you, and if you know your sizes, you can measure the pieces if you can't try them on in person. You know, I said to be mindful and make sure that the shirt that has buttons actually has buttons, and it has buttonholes that aren't ripped. Here's another thing to keep in mind. How hard is it to actually button the item? And are you willing to spend that much time if it has a lot of buttons and it's not easy to do? It's a very strange and unique problem, I think, but this sweater in particular is rather challenging to button, and it takes a little bit more time than I was expecting. I think I like how it looks better with the collar versus having it buttoned all the way up, which is something to keep in mind is how are you going to wear it if something has a versatile collar or different pieces of it that you can wear in different ways. How would you prefer to wear it? And would you actually wear it the way that it was intended or find an alternate way to wear it? Good things to know when you're trying pieces on and exploring if it makes sense to keep it in your closet, or if you're not going to go through that much effort, might as well leave it, or you can always redonate it in a situation like this where it was part of a grab bag of items and we wanted to test it out for ourselves to see what we thought. There is almost no give in the collar, so when I am putting it on, I can guarantee that I'm going to have staticky hair and I might be missing my eyebrows depending on how tightly this gets pulled against my face, which is again why I wore minimal makeup to try this on, because it's a white color and my makeup would transfer really easily to this. So just things to keep in mind when you're trying items on and wearing makeup and making sure that it doesn't get on your clothing in the process. But I'm glad I tried it because I think adding new things and new colors and trying things that are outside of your comfort zone is a great way to build and expand your horizons when it comes to your wardrobe and your style. It does just create more volume. Not a bad thing. I like having a little bit more shape to my body with the help of clothing and the ways that you can utilize it to do so. But there are too many things that make this conflicting for me to wear and keep, and it just doesn't make sense for me to keep this if I'm not comfortable in it, no matter how nice it might look. And I know that as soon as I would try to sit down in this, there's a lot of straining happening. And I'm a little concerned about popping the seams on this. So they kind of fit, but really they don't, because I can't move around comfortably and wear these as I normally would wear a pant. So unfortunately, these are not going to work for me. I will probably always be very aware of the bleach stain that's on it. So that's something to be mindful of. Check for any staining, especially on those light clothes, because you never know, it could make or break how you feel about it and where you'd want to wear the item to. You know, worst possible situation happened to it and it got stained or ripped or something happened and now you have to fix it and you're really afraid of ruining it yourself. That's when you can always bring it to a tailor or someone who does alterations professionally, and they can make sure that it gets fixed because they know all the ins and outs of what you would need to do in order to make it wearable again. Even if I was to wear them with layering, I would still feel like I would have to pull at them to make sure they stayed in place, and that's not what you want. Right? You want to be comfortable in your clothes no matter what the occasion is, no matter what time of day it is, and make sure that they fit you how they're supposed to fit you. And as physically comfortable as they feel on my body, they won't feel comfortable when they're not on my body in a couple of hours because they've stretched out over the rest of the day. And if you didn't love it, well, check and see if there's anybody that you know who's a similar size to what that should fit like, or if they would like it. And then pass it along to a friend or redonate it somewhere that you know could utilize that item if it's in good condition. And things to keep in mind when it comes to body type, functionality of your items, and make sure it flatters your personality so you get the most use out of it and don't feel like you can only wear it for one event and then never again, because we love intentionality and versatility in our wardrobes. And if you need help slaying your closet monsters, we're always happy to help support you in leveling up your style and starting your style adventure if you don't know where to start. Check us out at boastmono.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.